Welcome. Ged?
Are you ready for the shortest review
Part
in history?
5.
Just
Shadow Warrior.
just gonna sign off. See you later.
Shadow Warrior.
I hope our boy Soul Yoda is present and accounted for on this one. Man, if there was a time, I hope you are on and interacting with us. Oh, mag out.
So where do you want to start?
How
about we start last night and put the RIP on my football season?
Oh God, here we go. Yes,
I'm not
your Jets played
gonna
way better than the Bills. The Bills looked terrible. Zach Wilson coming in 4 plays in looked fantastic. He moved the offense well. I have nothing. I have no chirping. I have nothing. Your defensive core played brilliantly. Whitehead with 3 picks.
Yeah. Well, that's good. But
it was
how about the Lord and Savior being lost for the season? 4 plays in.
Is he out for the season? Is it done?
Done. Torn Achilles.
And this is now the 3rd time, right? In Jets franchise, they came off a big signing. When I was watching Monday Night Football, it's like the 3rd time literally they came out with high expectations. In the first game, they lost their quarterback.
Having a Testaverde. We're cursed. Cursed franchise. Cursed. Okay. Enough of that cursedness.
So, all right. So where do I want to start with this week? I guess where I want to start is a humongous, and I know we've done this before, but I'm going to make sure I include the person no one loves in this. Huge hat tip to not only Dave Filoni, but also, if you're going to smash on Kathleen Kennedy, we've had this conversation, you got to give credit where it's due, regardless of her involvement. They have managed to give so much genuine fan service to close off things we always wanted to see. I mean, I saw things in this episode that I have wanted to see since you introduced me to the character Ahsoka, that we wanted to see in Rebels. We answered, obviously, some questions we had last week. I'm so overwhelmed by how much they've been able to pack of just quality, incredible fan service. I am smitten for these 5 episodes, and I am teenage girl in love with this episode itself.
All right, well, let's just move to the scores.
I don't know. Like, I don't know about you, but and I don't know if we're going to get into it, obviously, in detail right now, if we're still at this high level, but I smiled so much at like the smallest nuances. I can't wait to get into it. I'm going to stop talking because I'm just going to ramble.
Kelsey looked at me and she said, have fans been complaining about the lack of lightsabers in like the other Star Wars stuff? I was like, I think there's probably been some complaints that other shows aren't Star Wars, She's like, oh, I could tell. So we get Hera looking for Ahsoka. And let's just go right in for the meat of this. One thing we didn't touch on last week was I really thought Anakin actually looked terrible in that little cliffhanger.
Oh yeah,
I thought the CGI looked weak on his face. Fast forward to this episode, I thought he looked absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
especially the short, wavy, hockey-haired, Clone Wars armor wearing Anakin. I thought looked absolutely great. Like
the whole Clone Wars scene just gave me goosebumps, because really, like, the way, the complaints you could have for the prequels, a lot of it was about how it was presented. There were just moments of just rawness. I'm like, oh man.
So there was a lot of stuff going on as to what the world between worlds.
Sorry, we're rambling. Anakin, let's just go.
Yeah, right, what Anakin was going to be. And
Ged was right.
By the end of it, I was like, what was the lesson? And I was like, oh, it's actually very, very simple. So let me.
What was the lesson? Tell me.
Let me take you through what I believe here. So Ahsoka actually was defeated by Balin and was probably hurting / about to die. Anakin didn't necessarily pull her into the world between worlds, but she went there. And whether or not you get a full explanation as to how, why, what the reason was, whether it was in her head, but it wasn't, obviously, because Jason could hear them. So we get Anakin facing off at Ahsoka, and he says one last lesson, more or less, and he's like, "Do you want to live or die?" And then takes her through. I love the way they did it on how he just instantly started to attack her, and then just cut the floor out from beneath her, and she just fell into a Clone Wars battle. I thought so visually cool, and then we get Ahsoka recast as young Snips.
So good.
Yeah, so good. And Anakin looked tremendous. We get
a multitude of all of her sabers too.
Yeah, so we get the only thing we didn't get was the double green, like the green in her little soda blade, but we got we got her there, and then they kind of jumped. I think she said that was their first mission together.
Correct.
And then we get the jump to the Siege of Mandalore, which was cool because all of a sudden she's double blues and she's just destroying Darth Maul's Mandalorian dudes.
Yep. And they weren't even together at this point, so he got some insight.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I haven't seen this battle before. She's like, yeah, we parted ways. And I like that they're both consciously, like, presently in the past as they go through it all. And then they go right back to it. And just beautiful touch with the Vader theme and Anakin crisscrossing between
the eyes,
and evil. Yeah.
The eyes changing.
Yeah, to the Sith eyes. And then...
which was a good nod to episode 3.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good nod to episode 3.
Yep. And then, they kept talking about, like, she's like, you could tell the pain she has. Like, she's like, I know what you become. You're not going to teach me that. Like, she's kind of like, what's going on? And I don't know. So, okay. So you tell me. So this is what I took from the whole thing. I thought it was just as simply, she just needed to fight for her life. Like, she just had to win that battle, win. And then they went all Lord of the Rings, and Ahsoka the Gray comes back reborn as Ahsoka the White. Because what is the lesson then? Let me hear it.
Well, the lesson was, there he is. Thank you so much for coming here. I don't know if you saw the opening message. I was really, really, really hoping that you were going to be on for this one. I think the message is a little bit more complex. Yes, I love the imagery of her coming back as white. I also noticed that her facial expressions, her body language, her mannerism changed. I think the lesson was about her being decisive. Everything she's appeared in so far, with whether it's Mandalorian and especially this, she has key lines in this, like, I go where I'm needed in terms of a starship. She's really not committed to anything. She's not really a Jedi. She's Lady Tano. She is what everybody else needs her to be. And I think what the lesson was about being decisive. Do you want to live or die? It is the absolute, like, truth, right? And in the first battle, Anakin talks about, the first Clone Wars battle. He was a peacekeeper. If you think about the training and the mentality that Obi-Wan had with him, when Anakin starts down this Clone Wars path, and obviously into Revenge of the Sith, he becomes very focused on the idea of war. So do you want to live or die? I think that a lot of people are going to take too literally. I think the lesson is she nailed it on the head. I want to live. I want to choose to live, not to not die, but to live, to be committed. Because Obi-Wan's Jedi and his masters before him, Jedi, was about more than just battle. It was about more than black and white. It was bringing life to the world around you. And at the end, when she defeats Anakin in the world between worlds and she has him, if she had taken his life, that's actually, she'd be choosing death. But because she retracts the blade and she finds the good in that, to live is really for her to refine purpose. And that, I think, was the training that he didn't finish with her, because she walked away from him in the Clone Wars. She walked away from him when he had made the decision to start to become very, very narrow-minded. I watched this scene intensely, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
And I think that, as Anakin's mind did this towards the Clone Wars, into that, the completion of her training was really that it opened back up in the world, and she could really commit to something other than herself and being where she needs to be. I know that's a bit of a ramble, but I think that there is a ton of deep meaning into it. Yeah.
Rex
so
was cool.
Good.
I loved how he just was hanging on the periphery, and then he came in for that one scene. Good job, General or Captain or whatever he said to Ahsoka on the Siege of Mandalore.
Anyway, that, I know that's a bit of a ramble, but I think that there's a lot of significance there.
Yeah. And the one thing I think they did, obviously, by not going into like crazy detail explaining it for everyone, I think they're also leaving it into a little bit of interpretation as to what people want it to believe. And I'm sure we'll get like a little bit of the gallery and Dave Filoni breaking it down when the season's done, potentially, and he'll be up on this high horse about philosophically. But yeah, I thought just very well done. I loved the line where she's like, "I won't fight you," or "I will not fight you." He's like, "I've heard that before." Very nice nod to Anakin / Vader's past. Was there anything you didn't like about the world between worlds in that whole scene?
Not a single goddamn thing. Nothing. I have no gripes. Even when I was worried I was going to get a little cheesed out when he took the floor out from under and how that happened, I thought it transitioned beautifully. There is, if I could add something to it, I think that the doorways in the world between worlds would be neat to explore. Yeah, but I don't think that was for this.
They showed no portals, doorways or windows or anything like that.
Yeah, or even if she'd had exited in through a door back into her reality.
Yeah,
I think would have been kind of a neat nod to the end of Rebels, but was it needed? No. But that look on the end of his face, my God, that smile when she retracts the blade, I choose to live, is a scene that I will remember for quite some time.
Yeah, and I love that he's all Sith at that part too, and then you can see he like kind of like accepts it and deep breath, and then opens his eyes again. He's like returned back to Anakin and not Vader anymore. I thought Dave treaded perfectly fine and navigated himself through all that without creating plot holes and
questions,
like destroying. You know what I mean? I thought he did what he needed to do in that area without kind of destroying Star Wars, so to speak, on how it works, which I thought was great, because I'll be honest, I fell victim a little bit to the expectation monster for this one, because there was a bajillion theories, a bajillion apparent little leaks. Like, people were expecting to see the battle on Mustafar, like what potentially might have happened if Anakin didn't turn, all this stuff.
And you and I talked about this. I'm like, there's no way they're doing that.
Yeah, and like that would involve looking through, the gateways and windows to different parts of time and stuff like that. And when they didn't do all of that, I in the moment I kind of felt, that it didn't happen. But as I've had time to reflect on it, I was like, no, I think they did it the best possible way they could have.
Absolutely.
They didn't really do any cheesy, "Oh, Anakin, I miss you," like catching up on their lives. It was like one last lesson, let's go.
Yeah. And
and
to me, it was just about opening up the eyes to being committed to something, to being decisive.
Let's see here. The only thing I wish they did was look back at the Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah, but would it have really advanced? And Swoyoda, here's the question, because I agree. But if we're asking ourselves honestly, is it for our sake or for the story's sake? I think for the story of what is happening, I think that if you open up that portal, you open a million questions. As much as I think it would have been a neat nod, I don't think it would have helped the story at all. Anyway, not really sure what your thoughts are. And I think it's important for us in a series like this, where there's so many opportunities to look at so many things, that we remember that if it doesn't advance a story, if it's our own kind of emotional needs, it doesn't really make sense. And I think that that's where Star Wars has probably gotten into a bit of trouble in the past is doing things that didn't necessarily help the story, that kind of backfired and ended up creating a million more questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we agree on that. And yes, but believe me, I'm with you on it. But
yeah, I think it at the end of the day, it was a very smart decision to really just focus it on Anakin and Ahsoka, and not, like I said, not do too much crazy things in the world between worlds. So
okay, all right. I wanna make one comment. And then I want to transition it into the next one. I want you to tell me if there's a relationship.
Okay.
Anakin makes a joke that teaching isn't all it's cracked up to be, and she gets mad at him for making jokes, basically saying that basically alluding to his greatest treasure in life is to pass on everything he is and more to his Padawan.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a tie-in? Because I know we're going to talk about Jason Syndulla. Tell me you don't see that tie-in. Like Jason Syndulla's ability to sense what was happening, and not only sense it, but to be able to almost subconsciously transfer that to Hera. And the fact that Ahsoka comes back the way she is, like, tell me you don't see this happening.
I thought the funny nod was to Ahsoka basically failing and like struggling to teach Sabine.
Yeah.
But yeah, they really I didn't know how much Jason Syndulla was going to be used this season or at all. And they had him sensing. He was able to sense that she was out there. He was able to sense the world between worlds.
And the actor nailed it. Like the kid actor absolutely nailed it cold.
Yeah, and then they, Huyang has that scene where he's talking to Carson. He's like, "Oh, that's Kanan, Jarrus's son. He was, a Jedi. Blah blah. He has abilities."
And Carson's like, "All right, here we go."
Yeah, and they talk about, "Oh, can I go on your Jedi ship? Oh, have you ever held a lightsaber?" You could tell he's. Oh yeah. Hera has obviously taught him about that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, she's told him a ton about Kanan, which is great. So, like, his Jedi father's past isn't being hidden from him. So yeah, I wonder what the plan is for him.
Well,
is it Ahsoka? Is it Luke?
Just come back, re-energized. She's come back with focus. In my opinion, after that thing with Anakin, she's come back with purpose again.
Yeah. Either way, I don't know how much he's going to be used as like a fighter, so to speak.
Yeah,
in the conflict
that's
versus
fair.
Thrawn.
That's
but
fair. I'm okay if they just leave it as a implied that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so I thought, the bringing in Jason and giving him some more time, I thought was smart.
Yeah.
I love the X-Wings and the ghosts just flying around, sweeping the ground. And then we get, it's been the obvious plot device forever. How are they going to get to the other galaxy? Well, it's the Purrgil. Yeah. And we know the only reason Ezra was able to use them because of his Force abilities and was able to, he's always been able to talk to the wolves, the Purrgil, everything.
And so has Ahsoka from the Origins show. Like that's very much. Yeah, that's very much. She was really the first to really be able to communicate with animals. If you watch the first, obviously we've all seen them, right? The first one where there's that big, large beast, and she ends up riding it back to the village, right?
Yeah, it is there.
Oh,
it's so small and blurry, though. But yeah, it's there.
Great point out. I 100% missed that. Great call.
Yeah, so then we get Ahsoka talking to, Big Betty, the big whale.
Yeah.
And, gets Moby Dick to open his mouth, and she goes right on inside.
So why doesn't Hera go with them? That's be my only question.
Well, I think she
makes the thing like Jason's too young. If I could have one tiny,
I don't think she wants to bring Jason in that situation because of the unknown. And secondly, I'm assuming she needs to feel a responsibility to prepare her galaxy
for
what's coming because right now no one believes her right now.
Yeah, you're
so she's going to have a lot of work to do because Mon Mothma says, "Do you have any evidence?"
Sucks, by the way. Now
I know she's so awesome in Andor,
badass,
such a wet blanket.
Yeah, she's.
I would say, well, we got 2 destroyed X-Wings or 3 destroyed X-Wings. Like, is that not proof they didn't just blow up by themselves?
Right. Although I hope they're plotting Mon Mothma that way that she's going to be cool at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
We'll see. Yeah, so Ahsoka makes her, and again, the whales look great.
Oh, Pergola were done brilliantly. Even the way they kind of energize up. I was curious to know how they're going to do that. I thought they did a great job. I think
just like the animation, but very realistic. Like it,
yeah.
To me, we mentioned before, the whales have been one of the more, for the things coming from animation over, the whales you could have thought might have been the more silly thing to bring, but the whales have actually looked spot on.
Yeah. And even the time they took as the fleet cleared the path.
Yeah.
I thought they did the right thing by showing everyone's awe.
Yeah.
Like, you might have someone jump on and be like, oh, they took way too much time doing that. I think it's very important.
Oh, speaking of which, now that fleet can report, like, Hera's not that batshit crazy. Like, there's legit a school of whales that swam
through us.
Space
whales. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of them had Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I really loved the ending to Empire Strikes Back nod at the end of this one, where she's like, I promise I'll find them. As they're like about to go their separate ways, right? It's like very reminiscent of Lando and Chewie about to take off in the Falcon to go look for Han. Talking back to Leia. So I thought that was cool. Very nice nod. Great way to end it. Now we're full speed ahead to Thrawn. I'm still stunned at how good this looks for a TV show. They used a little bit of tricks there in the world between worlds, right? With like the fog of war, so to speak, hovering over the sides, but still, it just looks so good. Yeah. The only other note here I had written down, which I thought was odd, was Carson says Senator Organa is trying to make contact, which I thought was strange because Bail Organa is dead and Leia Organa is a senator? There's no way. She's a general in Force Awakens, isn't she? I don't know. Maybe she's... I thought it was weird that Leia would have been...
Yeah.
They meant... I don't know. Is anyone watching this who caught that and what they meant by Senator Organa? I just thought it was... I didn't really know what they were...
that's fair. That's a little weird, but all right.
Yeah. I didn't think Leia would go back to being a senator. I don't know who else. I guess it could be another Organa that's not related, but I don't know. All right. Let's give this episode
9.5
a score. 9.5.
9. Yes, I agree. She was a senator at this point.
Senator to who though? Like
of the new, she's a senator.
Alderaan don't exist.
Right, but she's a senator of the New Republic.
Yeah, but don't senators represent some locale?
She might. This is a 9.5 for me, flat out. I couldn't stop smiling the entire time. I actually can't think of a single complaint. I can't give it higher than a 9.5.
We're sharing the same brain. I'm also 9.5, and like I said, what hurt it for me was, like I said earlier, like the expectation monster a little bit, like maybe that. But like hurting it, I'm still giving it 9.5. Like, I don't think it did much. This is more, it was just great character development, story development. You know what I mean? It wasn't like balls to the wall.
To me, this episode was executed
here we go.
Perfectly.
Here we go. She's a senator. Read bloodline. She leaves to become... Okay, so she's a senator in the New Republic, and when the New Republic won't do shit against the First Order, she leaves and becomes a general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This episode was executed brilliantly. They had a lot to cover, and they nailed it.
Yeah,
I can't go 9.7. There wasn't enough raw emotion in it for me to get to that.
Yeah. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit longer too. I think that was one thing I was a little bit... when the whales jumped, I was hoping just for like a quick scene of like the Eye of Sion arriving in the other galaxy and giving a quick little view of what was going on, then credits. I was a little disappointed we didn't get a little tease there.
Or I would have liked to have seen a little breaking down from Anakin. Yeah. If I see a weak moment in there from Anakin and some emotion and some regret, it goes way up there and gets close to my gets close to my highest number ever, but that is an unrealistic expectation. It is just, it's a little far-fetched. But if someone out there is wondering what it would have taken for me to get to a 9899, I would have wanted to see a raw moment of regret from Anakin, and that's just not realistic.
Yeah, and again,
it was my foot. That hurts.
And Anakin's appearance was, again, like we said, very focused.
Well done. It's great.
But then it's like, but yeah, we didn't get any, like, again, there was not really any explanations. We still don't, I don't know if we'll ever know what Anakin really was in that moment. Like, he's not a Force ghost because he's able to physically interact with her.
I always go back to where and I always forget the damn name of the planet. I always go back to that run in Clone Wars where they go back to where the Mortis. Yeah. And if he really was the one, then I think he, as weird as it sounds, becomes a part of the living Force.
Yeah.
So I think his watchful eye becomes a part of the living Force.
I could see that. Like, he was so powerful. He was, the chosen one, blah, blah.
He was the one, right? So Mortis used to watch over that. I think that Anakin, and I think that there's an opportunity there with Star Wars to have him be part of the living Force. I think that you can see Hayden Christensen and Anakin as a character going back in between these two personas for literally a long time, because there's no accountability for odd questions. Like, you can make him a visual part of the living Force for the next 15 years if you wanted to. And I'm going to love every single second of it. And I'm sure everybody else would.
Yeah. He just, oh man, that first Clone Wars battle throwback, he just looks so good. Well, he looked good in all of them, but that first one, he just, they did such a good job, I thought. Yeah, I wonder if we'll get some from Dave on if he'll ever explain it, or just kind of he'll just tiptoe around it a little bit as to what was going on there.
Well, if he ever does, if there's like a 2 or 3 minute snippet, we're gonna play it and we're gonna react to it on the spot.
Some guy's gonna make a comic book or book and like fill in all those blanks, and Dave's gonna be like, "Nope, retcon."
No, thank you.
All right, so that'll do it for us. Let us know in the comments. Did we miss anything, or what you thought of this episode? And I think we're going to see Thrawn next episode.
Yeah.
I think it's full speed ahead to Mr. Blueface.
Corbin, Swole Yoda, thanks so much for chiming in on this one. Swole Yoda, I'm so glad you jumped in. As soon as I saw this, I was like, oh man, I hope you're here.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Yeah. Peace out. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.